My name is Chris Husbands. I'm Director of the Institute of Education. I'm delighted to chair this session. So just occasionally there is wide consensus across the political spectrum, and such a consensus now seems to exist about apprenticeships. Widespread recognition that we need to expand the supply of high-quality apprenticeships. And as so often in public policy, if only wishing made it so, life would be extraordinarily simple. We know that there are persistent and long-standing barriers to systemic improvement in technical and vocational provision. We know that those barriers are cultural, social and economic as well as institutional. And we also know that the problems are international. All countries struggle with the challenges, not least because of the challenge of keeping the education and training system up to date with a rapidly changing labour market. And in this country, as I think the Minister hinted at the very end of his answer to the final question, for all the consensus, it remains the case that fewer than 1 in 10 employers offer apprenticeships. In fact, less than 33% of large firms and only 8% of all employers. There may be an apprentice in the Minister's office, but BIS and its partner organisations employ 24,500 officials, and together they offer 137 apprenticeships. The question for us this afternoon is to explore the relationships between improving apprenticeship provision and social mobility. It doesn't necessarily follow that expanding apprenticeships itself will promote social mobility. As the Minister indicated, the vast increase in apprenticeships between 2009 and 2012 was in level 2 apprenticeships, without many of them a clear line of sight to work. I wrote an IOE blog piece about a year ago, which was entitled, "What Do We See When We Think About Social Mobility?" And I explored 4 different pictures that might come into our mind. The idea of levelling the playing field, of the snakes and ladders board, the escalator to the top bypassing intermediate floors, or the steady forward march. So the question for this afternoon is how we see apprenticeships in the context of a potentially more mobile society, whether apprenticeships, real apprenticeships for all, is a realistic prospect. Another is the question of how we see apprenticeships in the context of a rapidly evolving economy, and an economy which, if we're honest, is not a universally high-skill economy. I hope we can make progress this afternoon, and we have an exceptional panel, which leads me to suggest that if we can't, then no one can. We have Andrea Bodner, Training Manager from Webasto, manufacturer of vehicle refrigeration systems, Frank McLaughlin, Principal of City and Islington College, Chair of the Commission on Adult Vocational Learning, Claire Paul, Head of Entry-Level Talent at the BBC, and David Keeling, Chief Operating Officer at Bango, which develops payment systems for app stores. Each will speak for 5 minutes, except for Andrea, who will start us off speaking for 10. We'll then throw it open to questions, and towards the end, I shall invite Rob Wall from the CBI to talk about the CBI Pearson survey. So that's the plan of the afternoon. Andrea.
So, first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity to give you a short overview of how an apprenticeship is working at our company at Webasto, which is located near Munich in Germany. First, a few words about Webasto. Webasto is one of the top 100 automotive suppliers worldwide. It has been a family-owned business ever since the company was founded in 1901. The group operates globally at over 50 locations all over the world in the divisions roof and thermal systems. In 2013, Webasto had a turnover of more than 2.5 billion euros and employs over 10,000 people worldwide. About 3,300 people work at our locations in Germany. In 1997, Webasto implemented a structured training program concept with 42 trainees across all the German sites. In 2003, it launched a program with the aim to increase the number of apprentices in Germany. An announcement was made that more than 7% of the German workforce should be made up of apprentices. Today, we have nearly more than 230 apprentices and dual students at our German locations in a wide range of vocational trainings, including industrial administrators, IT specialists, different technical jobs such as tool makers, industrial mechanics, product designers, as well as a lot of commercial and technical students. So, what are the main characteristics of Germany's dual system? The dual system in Germany has a very long tradition. Even in the early 19th century, the vocational education had started, initially within the technical field, but by the end of the 19th century, it also moved into the commercial field. Our dual system comprises of two partners. There's on the one hand the vocational school. The vocational school takes care of the theoretical background of an apprenticeship, and on the other hand, there is the company, which provides the practical background. During their apprenticeship, an apprentice spends around 33 weeks at school and approximately 98 weeks at the company. This reflects the main focus of our system, namely the profound practical experience. And it's not only the expert knowledge which is focused upon, but also the personal development of the young people is fundamental. The main soft skills required being successful in a job. At the end of the vocational training, the apprentice has to pass a final exam in accordance with the nationwide standard set up by the Chamber of Commerce. So, at the end of the apprenticeship, an apprentice will finish up with 3 certificates stating their professional knowledge. There is one certificate from the company stating, e.g., the departments in which the trainee has worked during the training. These are, for example, the sales department, the purchasing department, the bookkeeping department, etc. A second one is the certificate from the vocational school, which shows the performance in the theoretical courses. There are about politics, controlling, cost accounting, etc. And finally, there's the third certificate. This is from the Chamber of Commerce, and this states whether the young man or the young woman is qualified to work in the trained profession. In Germany, we have at present 348 recognized career tracks, where about 1.5 million young people are engaged. So, what are the advantages for Germany? The dual system is one main reason for Germany's low rate of youth unemployment compared to other European states. In 2012, the German rate was 8%, whereas in the EU, the rate was about 22.5%. Due to the fact that our dual system is nationwide accepted and has a high standard, the mobility of German employees is guaranteed. This basically means that you can learn a job in one region, for example, North Rhine-Westphalia, and move to another region, e.g. to Bavaria, a few years later, and your skills will be equally recognized and valued. The burning question in our times: who pays for it all? The majority of the cost is paid by the company, as the company pays for the salary. The salary for an apprentice is between 850 and 1,014 euros per month, as well as for the education internally. There are language courses, for example, in-house trainings, how to pass an exam. There are books, cost for copies, cost for transportation fee, which has to be paid by the company. 2 years ago, we did a study to establish what it costs to train a commercial apprentice over a training period of 3 years. The result was that the cost for an entire training program amount up to about 40,000 euros per apprentice. At first glance, this may seem expensive, but one has to consider the practical work an apprentice is executing to a department while he is working there. And so vocational training turns fairly quickly into a profit for the company. The other costs, for example, the cost for the infrastructure, for the teachers, etc., are paid by the local governments. And some costs are paid by the Federal Labor Office, for example, for young people who are not qualified to find an apprenticeship at the first market. Another organization involved in the field of vocational training in Germany is the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce ensures that the official regulations for the respective professions are adhered to by the company. Each company has to pay a yearly fee to the Chamber of Commerce, and this fee is based on the turnover of the company. And so, you see, vocational education is not at all cheap. So, what are our motivation to be engaged in it? The main benefit for Webasto is that in times of demographic change and of upcoming shortage of skills, we always have enough well-educated employees. This matches our demand perfectly in terms of expert knowledge, professional skills, as well as social expertise. Webasto also saves money because we have lower personal recruitment costs, and apprentices feel a greater sense of loyalty to the company, which in turn means a lower turnover of staff. Furthermore, an apprentice finishes his apprenticeship with a broad network of contacts. They know the products and the processes already and have a considerable shorter period of vocational adjustment. And the third point is it is a kind of social responsibility for German companies to be engaged in apprenticeship. How do we attract good quality apprentices? How do we find them? In Germany is one very important instrument to recruit apprentices, the practical training for pupils. Pupils come to the companies for 1 or 2 weeks in order to get an initial insight into the world of work. Nearly all apprentices take part in such a practical training, and afterwards they make a conscious decision for a special company or for a special profession. They have to go to school for 1 or 2 weeks, and so they can go into a company instead and see what is behind a job. In 2013, we at Webasto had about 100 pupils who used this option to find a job which fitted to them. Other marketing actions include close operations with selected schools. We at Webasto have an annual open day where parents and pupils can come to our company to look what is our company and what are the main features of our apprenticeship program. And there are very important recruitment fairs in Germany, so where all the companies have the possibility to present themselves, and the pupils can go there and inform them about companies and about professions. How do we select the best pupils? An example from our headquarters, and at our headquarters we have about 20 new apprentices every year. We receive about 200 applications, approximately 40 of which will receive an invitation to come along with to Webasto for an interview. In this interview, they have to submit first an employment test. This employment test covers questions on politics and economy, logical and mathematical understanding, plus questions in English to test vocabulary and understanding. Afterwards, they have to give a PowerPoint presentation on their personality as well as their motives for choosing with Webasto and the desired career track. Finally, there's a job interview which lasts about 20 minutes. And then we will decide if this is if this is a good apprentice for us or not. But even in Germany, there are a lot of challenges facing Germany's dual systems and the German companies. In the first decade of our century, there was a big mismatch between a limited offer and a higher request for vocational training. Nowadays, the number of young people in Germany is on the decrease, and at the same time, many more graduates opt to study after leaving school instead of doing an apprenticeship. This was seen for the first time in 2013, when there were 5% more starters at university than apprenticeships at the company. So what we have to do even in Germany, we have to tell parents and young people that the bachelor degree is not the only guarantee for a career and for earning good money, but that at all a well-trained carpenter, for example, can build up his own company and earn a lot of money afterwards. Another big challenge for the future is to bring more young people with migration background, or those young people lacking the necessary school exams for vocational training, in particular within the technical professions. In times of demographic change, this means that all companies in Germany have to fight for the most suitable trainees in terms of both quality and quantity. I hope I've been able to give you a short information about the vocational training in Germany, especially at Webasto. Thank you very much for your attention.